Welcome to Mic'd Up, where stories meet conversations. Mic'd Up is a podcast initiative by Mahe Innovation Center, and it's a space where we try to dissect the biggest career crossroads from startups to corporate careers and unpack insights on culture, strategy, and innovation.
From hurdles to achieving great heights, Mic'd Up brings you people who have built their dreams from scratch, dreamers who have dared to start, and doers who have kept going. I am Mitali,
And I'm Jay.
and we are your hosts for today's episode.
So yeah, kicking off with the bang, with journeying from the buzzing campus of Manipal to the colorful streets of Mexico. Mexico. Guest is Saswat Sahu with experience advising Fortune 500 clients, being a co-founder at like Offchain Global and an adjunct faculty at the EGADE Business School. Shashwat blends real-world expertise with academic insight. Mr. Shashwat, we're very glad to have you over here. Welcome to our podcast.
Hi, Jay, and hi, Mitali. Thank you so much for the invitation. Glad to speak to you, Manipal students. Yes,
Yes, so you've been from Manipal to Mexico. So how has it all been so far? Like, how's the journey been?
it has been fun, to be honest. Back in 2007, I graduated from Manipal University, Manipal Institute of Technology, and I had a roller coaster ride back in the day from 2003 to 2007. Whenever I talk about my Manipal days, I become very emotional. Like those were some of our formative years with some of the best friends that I could have. And thereafter, I did a typical MBA, and thereafter typical consulting, and traveling around the world, and then finding my person country fit. And after traveling many countries, I realized that somehow Latin America suits me. The culture, the food, the people, and because I got married to a Mexican as well, so I got settled down here in Monterrey, Mexico.
That's very good, sir. That's very interesting to know. Uh, Also, sir, you just told you like you've had your best friends in Manipal. Are you still in contact with them? How often do you meet your
Oh,
friends? Over
I mean, since 2007 to 2025, it's been roughly 18 years, and time flies by so fast. So, yes, we have been in contact. Recently, I met a lot of my friends as well in Bangalore, India. And before that, a couple of my friends had come to my home city out here in Monterrey as well, in Mexico. So I had been to, and every country that I actually go to, I meet a lot of my classmates. I was in electronics and communication engineering, so obviously we had our sections as well. So I was more in contact with my section mates, section B, and thereafter I happened to meet a lot of college guys as well. When you go to every state in India or every country around the world, there is a Manipal professional doing something over there for sure. So yes, I've
so
been.
true, sir.
Yes.
Sure, that is actually very heartwarming to hear that you're still in contact with all of them.
Like
Because
with your friends.
usually, of our age, we end up hearing that, after college, you do lose contact, and it is also kind of fear that, maybe I'll end up somewhere else and maybe I'm not that much in contact with my current friends. But I guess it all does really work out in the end. And moving forward, I'm just curious, how did the entrepreneurship journey or like the entrepreneurship ecosystem look like when you were back in Manipal in your days? And how have the views the things maybe you learned from there and the concepts and the views that you learned about, how have those evolved till today?
That's a very interesting question. I think 2003 to 2007, entrepreneurship was just catching up. I think during our placements in 2006, I remember a majority of our colleagues or friends, they were looking for stable companies, the big fives or the big fours. And I remember we had double placements as well. So, once you get selected in a typical company like TCS, Infosys, or Wipros, you used to sit for the second placement as well. And then we did not have a lot of startups coming to our campus back then. The only entrepreneurship activity I think we kickstarted is by having more initiatives during our final years, like third year to fourth year onwards. We had initiatives around multiple clubs as well. I was part of IEEE, and we actually started IAESTE, which was it's very famous right now in back home in Manipal University. So we were me and a friend of mine, Anvesh Dayal, who is currently based out of Canada. We started with Pankaj Parvanda, and we started this culture of having international internships as well as practice schools. So those were the early days of startups, and after maybe a couple of years when Flipkart wave actually took off in 2010-11. I think those were the times where a lot of youngsters or juniors of our Manipal University started going deep into the startup ecosystem. I still remember close friend and a colleague of mine, Akshay Aran. He was from computer science engineering. He's still a startup founder for the last 15 years. He's living in Goa, and he has been swimming in the startup or entrepreneurial ecosystem for the last 15 years as an alumnus. So he has been working in AI and blockchain technologies, and he has been telling that a lot of junior students, juniors of our university, have been more proactive from 2013-14 onwards. So it seems the entrepreneurial ecosystem in India has evolved, and Manipal students have been very active part of it. Many of them have been good founders. I remember Pankaj Parvanda, who actually brought IAESTE to Manipal in 2006. I think he recently raised a couple of $1 million for his startup as well, called his
Wow.
Ghost Jobs in India. So we have a Manipal startup WhatsApp group as well. A majority of them are in Bangalore. So
Uh,
we have conversation as to what everyone is up to
so
back home
I'm
in
sorry
India.
to interrupt, but is there any way we can join in that group?
No, I think at this moment you are too
Oh,
early. I think
it is worth
you're a
a try,
student.
sir. It's worth a
No,
try.
I mean, so in our conversations, I'll be very candid and very straightforward with you guys as well,
We'd
because
love
I
that,
love you
sir. We'd
guys.
actually want that, sir.
So I think you need some experience and some depth before joining those circles, because then it's a bi-directional street. It's like you need to add
Yeah,
value as well, as much as you derive
yeah,
value
that
from
makes
the
sense.
peers, alumni as well. So you
Exactly.
need to be a value creator first as to what you bring to the world, to the ecosystem, to your friends, to your colleagues, to your university, and thereafter try to ask for more. But
Exactly.
coming back to the journey, I wanted to just complete as to what's happening in the entrepreneurial ecosystem is that we from 2017 onwards, I just left my typical corporate career, and then I dabbled with a few of the startups as well. I was myself part of an accelerator based out of Jerusalem in Israel. Went there being part of Mass Challenge Accelerator. We went to Boston to speak to the investors, raise some venture capital money as well. And that was my first-hand experience in entrepreneurship, like founding a company, starting going to US and raising some venture capital and understanding the venture capital ecosystem as well. And that led me in 2019 to actually be more delving into the SaaS, EV, as well as blockchain ecosystem. These are the frontier tech which Indian entrepreneurs are now covering. And 2020 was the time when I became a NASCOM fellow. And NASCOM is at the forefront of a lot of startup activities in India. And from a global perspective, NASCOM's reports are even read to understand what's happening on the entrepreneurial ecosystem in India as well. So 2020 to 2025, I have been actually swimming in the blockchain ecosystem and understanding investments and teaching at this university around new frontier technologies like blockchain, AI, SaaS, DAOs, and trying to understand Latin American venture capital ecosystem and connect it with our home base in Asia as well.
Okay.
Wow, it's wonderful, sir.
I just wanted to ask you about your time when you were a NASCOM fellow, and how did that look like for you?
So NASCOM was a serendipitous event for me in my career graph. Obviously, I had a interesting non-linear career, which means that I did not stick to one job or to one geography or one city for a longer duration of time. And of course, apologies to my consulting career. I got this consulting training of plugging into engagements as a mercenary, cleaning it up, and then plugging out, and then going to another engagement. But that helped me to land in NASCOM in 2020 as a national fellow. I was about to work in Bangalore, but then pandemic happened, so it was more or less digital work that we were doing. So I was part of the Center of Excellence in Bangalore, and we were evaluating a lot of startup activities as well as to what are the new frontier technologies in healthcare, or let's say in AI or in SaaS tech. And entrepreneurs and funded founders can play the global game, because what's happening is that if you understand, or if you have read the unicorn report, you'll realize that we are falling short of Chinese as well as American unicorn founders, right? And some of the reasons that we were researching back in NASCOM as to why we were failing or not having good quality founders was that not a lot of founders have global exposure. So you can be very good founder in back home, but if you do not understand the global dynamics, how venture capital ecosystem works, how capital flows, how multi-stakeholder engagements work, you don't have that experience. So when you don't have that experience, your decision-making skills are very skewed as well. So you only take decisions based on the information that you have. That's how your neural pathways are shaped. So if you do not know something, the best thing that you could do is be a very good absorber of things, be a very good listener,
Listener.
less of talking, more of
Of
listening,
listening.
and be at a juncture in your life where things come to you rather than you pushing forward for everything. And that again revolves around my central statement that if you are a value creator personally or professionally, then obviously you will attract more people, more opportunities, more interesting engagements. Rather than you pushing hard to get into something, you will be invited to contribute as well. And that's how ecosystems work, and that's how entrepreneurship or venture capital ecosystem works as well. But closing on the NASCOM thing, I think it was an interesting experience for like 17, 18 months. I had exposure to a lot of startup founders. One of them I remember was a smart helmet manufacturer. He was on Shark Tank, and he also went on to build smart helmets. And he had he was talking about a patent as well. So got exposed to some of the interesting startup founders. I happened to meet one of our Manipal alumnus from 2008 batch as well at NASCOM. He was the founder of goodmeetings.ai right now. You can search him up. His name is Alok Mishra. He's a close friend of mine. He's junior. We speak a lot about AI and frontier technologies. And he has been in the entrepreneurship space for the last 15 years as well, and based out of Bangalore. And he was also doing quality work within the NASCOM ecosystem. So it was an interesting journey for me.
Uh, So I'd like to ask a question. You've done like lots of jobs, you've changed your career many times. I'd like to ask, how did you take that leap? Like from how did you went from like a consultant to a co-founder, then to a teacher as of now? Like how did you decided to change your career? And like, don't you think it's tough changing careers after like a certain age? Like you'd like to see what is it that you can do for full time, right? You'd like to see now what's your comfort, what job is something, what career is something that you'd like to follow, but you're the one person who's changed the career so many times. So like how did you take that leap?
Interesting question. Apt for your age as well. So I think when you are in your 19s and 20s, right? Uh, it's you are just starting off with your life. You have
Yeah.
absolutely no idea who you
Uh-huh.
are as a person. Sometimes you do a typical engineering degree just because someone told you in your family circles, or someone,
Uh,
or there was peer pressure, or
yes,
you
I'm
were,
pressing the nerve over there, so.
yeah, you were born in a society that compelled you to actually pursue a degree that you were
Exactly.
not naturally inclined to. I mean, to give an example, it's a funny one actually. My roommate from Manipal, his name is Satyoki Kondenya. We
So
were
you're
batchmates.
very good with names. You remember every name
No, these are my friends.
properly.
These are my
Still,
friends. Like, he
I
was my
can see
roommate. Of
why
course,
you're
I
still.
remember his name.
I can
He's,
see why you're still connected with them.
yeah,
You've got such a good memory.
he's my best friend as well. I mean, he had
Oh,
come with
that's
his
so great.
family to my wedding, and I had been to his wedding. So we have a bond
Yeah,
of more than around
18,
22
20
years.
years. Wow, that's
22 years.
crazy.
So, coming back to why I was giving his example was that he did his 4 years of engineering, electronics and communication engineering, which is like really coveted back then. For 4 years with me, we were roommates. We had fun together. He did an exchange program. He went to Paris during his final semester. I was in Thailand. And then after a few years, I went via the management route, but he did another bachelor's degree in law,
Oh,
and he changed his career as well. And then he did his law, did some quality work in Delhi, Mumbai, and thereafter he did his LLM in Sweden. So people take different journeys in their life,
Uh-huh.
and especially when you are in your early years, you are just unaware of who you are as a person. It's just not about the career that you choose, as a person as well. For example, if I ask you, Jay,
Yes.
do you really know yourself?
Not at all, sir. I have
It
no
takes
idea what I want to do in
decades.
my life.
It takes decades sometimes to actually know yourself, right?
That's so true.
And Carl Jung rightly said that your life begins at 40. you know so
Okay.
up
Once you
until
figure
40,
out
whatever you
yourself,
have done is just research.
true.
So whatever you are doing from 20 to 40 is just research, because
that's
you have
too deep, sir. That's too deep.
absolutely you have no idea. I mean, he was talking about archetypes as well, about collective unconsciousness as well. And it seems that a lot of research that I was doing from my 20s to, let's say, 40, it led me to where I am right now with a different life altogether. Like, I changed jobs because I just wanted to have more international experience. Like, first I took an MBA because I did not do an engineering job. So I that MBA led me to go to Germany. From Germany, I realized that, okay, Europe was fine, so let's travel to other countries of the world as well. And then I realized that, okay, I was in a public sector company, and then I realized consulting allows you to travel the world. And many of my friends and books and everything suggested that you should travel in your 20s. So I started traveling through consulting, and after multiple years of travel across 30 plus countries, I realized that you need to find the right country for you as well, with the right ecosystem that you're in. And that led me to change careers as well, because you may be a manager at a consulting or an investment banking firm, but then possibly you do not want to become a partner of that firm because you have been looking the career trajectories of other fellow colleagues and partners. So at that juncture, you'll have to take a decision what really excites you in your life. For me personally, I realized that working on frontier tech really excites me. Frontier tech meaning innovation or innovative things really excite me. Working on futuristic thing excites me.
Right.
Working with legacy ecosystems or legacy companies or traditional companies is good to have a paycheck or a consulting contract,
Yeah.
but it does not excite me so much. I'm looking for the future. how the future of work is changing as well. What you are seeing as a non-linear career will be a normal stance in the next 10 years. No one going forward will be having 10-year jobs. Imagine working in Tesla for 10 years, or imagine working in SpaceX for 10 years, right? You will be forced to take career decisions based on the choices that you're given at any juncture of your life. So I took decisions based on the geographic exposure that I had. After I traveled to UK, I realized that maybe UK is not the right fit for me. I've lived in London. I've lived in almost all parts of Thames Valley. I had a great experience in Scotland. I went to Europe. I was in Poland, Finland, and other places. And then I realized, no, I think I do not want to settle down in Europe. So if I do not want to settle down in Europe, what other places should I explore? So I went to Southeast Asia. I was in Vietnam, Taipei, Singapore, Malaysia, and then I realized, okay, I have already had this experience.
So you name
Shall
like
I
half
go
of the
to?
countries.
No, I think it's good to explore and
So,
travel
see,
in
the
your
thing is,
20s
just
and
for
30s.
exploring purposes, you were never scared to change your career. Just because you wanted to travel, you changed your career so much. You were never scared to like change your
I
career.
think
Like you were never scared of leaving your comfort zone, and that's like crazy to think about.
Is
it's a
that
personal
very
journey
true?
as well. It's a
Like
personal
that,
journey as well.
yeah.
I think what you should be more focusing on is that why are you afraid of something, right? You are afraid because you need to pay your bills. You are afraid because you have a, let's say, a education loan for your engineering or for your MBA. So, or you are afraid that your parents or your peers have put you on a treadmill to do the traditional Indian things, right? Get a job, get a home. I mean, I got my first home in 2017 in Bangalore, and then I realized that I don't want a home as well. Then I realized, okay, I want, so what you exactly want out of your life is more important. So, and when you discover that, you will discover that in your late 20s or 30s actually. That's the time when you will be much more self-aware, and then you take decisions based around your life, not around your job. 99% of the people back home, they take decisions around their job, meaning that,
Yes.
if
Yeah, so
your
just
life
getting
is,
stuck in a loop, basically.
yeah, your life is not only about your job. Your job does not define you, who you are as a person, right? A job, I mean, just looking into a LinkedIn, you'll just get 1% of what this particular person is. You have absolutely no idea what that person reads on a regular basis, what that person has experienced on that particular day, what that person has met, what kind of people, what kind of movies he's watching, how his mind is operating. You would absolutely know nothing. But if you are from India and if you haven't had this global exposure, preferably you will fall onto those traditional rails, and you'll think like another millions of people around you. You cannot think different because you are in that particular system. So you need to be like a lotus. Even if you are in the pond, you'll have to not get impacted by all the water or the murk getting onto you. And
It's true.
for you guys as well, college life is a good experience for 4 years to have good fun and learn from each other as well. Like you are trying to learn from your professors, you are trying to learn from your seniors. This is a good time when you should be more absorbing things and try to learn from what you are seeing around you. So yeah, those are my pointers for you.
I would like to ask you, what is that one thing you miss the most about Manipal, except your friends, of course. But like one thing that you think about that. Okay, I just want to
Maybe,
go
huh?
back and do that
Maybe
again.
that tapri around the corner, sir. Anything that you missed from Manipal?
I think the tapris are now closed, I've been told.
Oh,
But
is it?
I think to answer this question, I'll tell you two interesting incidents. One was that when we graduated in 2007, not everyone from our friend circle was able to go for that convocation because some were pursuing their MBAs and degrees as well. So a lot of our friends missed out on experiencing that convocation in Manipal and seeing Manipal for the last time. So whenever we were meeting for the next 10 years in bars of Bangalore or bars of London or bars of New York, we used to always discuss that, hey, we need to go to Manipal once again and experience the life that we had back then. So in 2016, a friend from US, a close friend of mine, we have his nickname, but his actual name is Anant Gupta. He's in the leadership position in Deloitte in Atlanta. And he came to India and he said to me that, Sashwat, let's go to Manipal together. I said, okay. I mean, if you're coming and if you want to experience a few days, then we took off. I was doing corporate strategy with Mindtree at that time, and we took off a few days off and we went to Manipal to experience our Manipal life.
Okay.
And then we saw the changes, what has happened to Manipal in 2007 to 2016-17, a 10-year gap,
Right.
right? Everything has changed. Everything has changed. I'm just not talking about the infrastructure, but I'm just talking about the eateries, the bars, the restaurants, and the lifestyle could be the same, but the infrastructure has humongously changed. So the interesting part that we realize that we do not miss eating out at a tapri. Of course, we have our own stories, and I still remember eating out at my first day in Manipal. I went with my family to Dollops, and that's a restaurant that's still there,
Yes, it
which is,
is.
yeah, so it is legendary and historic. But besides that, I think we don't miss out a lot on the eating out place. Definitely we miss our friends with whom we grew together, like we were spending our 4 years of our life in hostels, experiencing all phases of our early growing stages. So we miss our friends,
Right.
we miss our experiences that we did together. That's the most. For example, going to Malpe Beach in 9 o'clock in the bikes, because back then we used to have our motorcycles, and we
Mm-hmm.
used to all take late night trips to Malpe Beach or Kapu Beach or to Mangalore, and to Goa as well. I think I remember more when we went to Goa via the Marvente Beach as well. So it was an interesting ride. And we spent many evenings and many nights with our friends and colleagues dancing at Kalungut. So those are the experiences that we actually miss as well.
Absolutely.
And now we don't have that time to,
Go
have
out
the
riding
same
a
set of
bicycles and
10
motorcycles.
people. See, yes. So those kind of experiences, we are not able to have that.
Uh, I'd like to ask, what's the most unexpected thing you think you did in college, like which you never thought you'd do before joining college? Like you have some thoughts that after college, this is something that I'd never do, or you never expected that to happen, but that happened in college with you.
Hmm. So in my college, I knew for sure that I will travel, because obviously in our final semester I was in Thailand,
Right.
and I had my first international experience from Manipal as well. So obviously I knew that I would travel. So that was not a surprise element. But I think I never thought that I would be married to a Mexican and live here in Monterrey. I generally thought that, best case scenario, you will marry an Indian, right?
Right.
So, but yeah, that was an interesting thing that I had never thought in Manipal days. But the interesting part was when I had my wedding in Bangalore, I invited my batchmates, my Manipal friends actually.
Right.
All the names that I'm telling, everyone was there, and I wanted to spend my big day with them as well. So it was
That's the
a,
dream, sir.
yeah, it's the same friends that I had for 20 years. It's
20
the
years.
same people that I was interacting with on a regular basis for 20 years. So friends, I think, are your foundational blocks for your personal life. That's
Absolutely.
a interesting
Absolutely,
thing.
exactly,
Yes.
sir.
The kind of
So
people you
Manipal definitely
surround.
gave a lot of
Yeah.
good friends.
Yes, the kind of
Exactly.
people you surround yourself with matters a lot. And yeah, life
Exactly.
keeps telling you that again and again. Moving on to our next question. You are one of the leading people when it comes to SaaS and AI and frontier technology, as you said. So SaaS is a very big buzzword nowadays. And can you just help us and break it down for our audience and like share your experience working in that field, like what it actually is?
Very interestingly, Satya Nadella, who is a Manipal alumnus, recently said, and the current CEO of Microsoft, recently said that SaaS is dead. The next phase of SaaS is actually AI SaaS.
AI
You know,
SaaS.
so
Yes.
but to deconstruct what SaaS is, it stands for software as a service. In layman terms, it's licensing for your softwares on a monthly subscription basis. That's how software SaaS business models work. You Any software that you are currently using, possibly it would be a SaaS software. You would be paying some subscription fees like $5, $10, $15 per month, and you are using it. So anything that is on the cloud, like Microsoft Azure or Amazon AWS or
Yes.
Google Cloud, etc., and it is not on premise, is actually a SaaS model, right? So you are actually licensing that particular software from the cloud for a subscription cost. So that's in layman terms. Now, I mean, of course, I started a SaaS podcast as well. It is currently called as SaaS It Up. One of my co-hosts was from Germany, and we spoke to a lot of SaaS investors and entrepreneurs around the world. And something we were discovering from 2020 to 2022 as to where the next phase of SaaS was going.
Right.
Until 2024, we realized that it is going through the AI route.
Makes sense.
So everything eventually SaaS will become the next phase. The next phase of SaaS, I think, will be the AI agents. So there will be AI agents that will actually be doing the work for you via the SaaS layer.
Right.
So that's an evolution that's happening on the SaaS ecosystem. Some of the biggest events in the SaaS ecosystem is one is SaaSter. I mean, in the North American US ecosystem, SaaSter and SaaS Talk. But if you are in Bangalore, then for India, you have SaaS Bhumi, one of the biggest SaaS community. They have their events in Bangalore as well as in Chennai.
Okay.
From my perspective, I genuinely think that cloud technologies are very important for AI layers as well.
True.
The
True.
the
Absolutely.
cost to compute, like you may be using all these LLM models that we are hearing about, right? We are hearing about the Chat GPT models or the Mistral model or the Anthropic Claude model or the Gemini model of Google. So there are hundreds of these models that are getting developed. I mean, these are large language models, but you also have niche SLMs and tiny LMs, etc. Now, these models has a compute cost as well, and that compute cost calculation needs to be done via the SaaS layer, because
True.
you are actually getting connected to the Azures of the world or to the Amazon AWS of the world to understand what is the cost of the compute.
True.
So if you are trying to do the next thing in the AI, then you will definitely have to understand SaaS or cloud technologies. And there has been a very interesting saying in the AI space right now is that either you are an AI creator, you are creating something in the AI space, you are a founder or you are a contributor to an AI ecosystem, or you are an AI user. So people say that they do AI, but they are primarily AI users. They use ChatGPT as or a Mistral or a Perplexity to derive something.
Okay.
And the third kind of people is that people who do not create AI or people who do not use AI. AI is actually using them. So you are eventually, all your content is actually becoming the fodder to an LLM
Yeah.
model.
Hmm.
True.
So your
It's
content
true.
is getting trained for the benefit of the LLM so that you could get a response. So obviously, in the SaaS AI SaaS layer that our Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella from Manipal has been talking about, is that the new age SaaS will be AI SaaS. So
Right.
every SaaS company eventually will be having a agentic AI layer, and that's the change in business model in the coming years as well.
Absolutely. In fact, I was also hearing NVIDIA talk about this, that the new and upcoming thing, in fact, the next thing in AI would probably be physical AI, which means self-driving cars and or whatnot. And I, as you said, I would like to agree to that, that SaaS is very, a part of the process now. The AI is not going to be able to, do anything with the data until we have a SaaS model to back it up.
Mhm.
So that honestly is the next big thing, of course, as you said.
And
And
like you mentioned about NVIDIA, right?
yeah,
NVIDIA, we haven't seen a competitor to NVIDIA yet,
Yeah,
exactly.
but
actually.
I think in the coming 10 years there will be a lot of quantum companies coming up as well, from
Absolutely.
other parts of the world,
Yeah.
that might be able to outcompete these early movers. Like
Absolutely.
as you rightly mentioned, right? Physical AI is the next level beyond agentic AI, and NVIDIA just launched their robot as well,
Yes.
and there will be a lot of robot agentic AI robotics and IoT use cases all combined together.
True.
So the most interesting part is that what should entrepreneurs and investors be doing in the next 10 years?
Hmm.
Because now there is a new wave of AI investors, meaning that you do not have to pitch to a person anymore, like A16Z recently released it, around it. You can actually pitch your startup concept to a AI, computer, and the funding could be through crypto rail or
Right.
directly via payments as well.
Right.
So the next set of innovations in frontier tech would be definitely quantum. And quantum AI is a good starting space. There is a very interesting course on quantum AI on Coursera. Beyond quantum AI, we are discussing about sovereign AI for respective countries. Like you are now looking into the age of typical centralized AI companies, like OpenAI is a company, right?
Hmm.
S- Mistral is a company. Uh, Claude or Anthropic is a company. But going forward, there will be a lot of open source AI and decentralized AI as well. Now, beyond open source and decentralized AI, there will be sovereign AI, which is a new concept. And countries will be actually looking for building their own models.
True.
Like, what will be a sovereign AI for India? What will be a sovereign AI for Mexico? What will be a sovereign AI for US? Or what will be a sovereign AI for China? Now
Right.
it's up to you. There's another concept called as frugal AI as well, where you should look into something called as Cambridge Frugal AI Innovation Laboratory, and you will find a lot of Indians actually innovating in that space. And it's a concept that talks about how can you utilize less number of like tiny LMs or less resources effectively to have your own models in place. So maybe the next evolution of AI beyond decentralized AI, beyond open source AI, will be sovereign AI and frugal and some use cases of frugal AI as well.
Okay.
Also, sir, as we are talking about startups in Mexico, and I'm so sorry for the question, but I just had to ask it considering how big it is. Do you consider cartel system a big startup in
No,
Mexico?
I don't think so, but it operates in a different model. I think it's a very strong narrative about Mexico, especially because of people having access to Netflix,
Right.
and you have seen Narcos on
Breaking,
episodes,
Breaking
so
Bad.
that's why you think all of Mexico is around that. But to be honest, since 2010, for the last 15 years in Mexico, there has been a very stable improvement change as well. People, someday you will travel to Mexico and you will realize for yourself that it's not how you see in the movies. It's as advanced as some of the places that you've ever lived in. To
Oh,
be honest, some of the cities are
exactly. See, the
having,
Mexico, all we have seen Mexico is in like series like Breaking Bad, which is all about
yeah,
drugs and all that stuff. So that is what
yeah,
we
yeah,
have in
yeah.
mind. Mexico is all about cartel systems, drug dealing and
I
all.
think I think the answer to that question is yes. If you live in Mexico, people hear about it in the media.
Is it?
But if you are not in the cartel, then possibly you will not be exposed to it, right?
True.
So
Uh,
every country has their own struggles. Like
oh,
India has its struggles with the recent problem that we had at the northern borders.
Yes.
You have your external struggles. Mexico has its internal struggles. Like Mexico had never been into a war with any country. They are a much more peace-loving country. They have much more, nicer relationship with countries around the world. You wouldn't find a lot of countries who are like enemies of Mexico. It's just that it has a little bit of internal squabble. And I think in the next 15, 20 years, those will be eradicated as well. I think like every other country. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
coming to
good.
Mexico, Mexican people, I feel like they are one of the most fun-loving people out there. And I just absolutely, hands down, love Mexican food. And
Agreed.
I swear, uh,
Also, sir, what, sir, I'd like to ask a question. Whenever it comes to startups, entrepreneurship, there are many people. Everyone has their own advices and all, right? You must have had your advices growing up. People giving you advices. I'd like to know what is that one advice or like the few advices which is like overrated. You think it's like people give it, but that's not that effective. How much people use it?
I think finding the right team is a very cliched
Is
advice.
it?
It's a very important one. But obviously, if you are a high quality, high agency founder, you know how to find a good team by yourself.
yes.
If you are inexperienced, then you may not be able to find the right team because it takes a few years of understanding about the landscape that you are operating in. But I think the basic cliches are that raise some venture money. You don't have to raise the money until the time is required, until you
Okay.
have PMF and growth stage. So these are very cliche. But one of the advices that sticks on to me, which is of importance, which I take it very seriously, is that entrepreneurship is a long game.
Okay.
There is no shortcut and short term, you know, uh, learnings or earnings from it. Meaning that if you are fickle, if you are just trying to make a buck, or if you are trying to, get onto that entrepreneurial wave for a year or 2 years or 5 years, do not get into it.
Hmm.
Get into entrepreneurship if you really wanted to do it for 20 years.
Okay.
You want to do it for 15 years. Get
Right.
into entrepreneurship, become a founder if you have a long term vision, if you are solving a problem for a long duration of time. Because people change their jobs like that, people change their startups like they're changing jobs. You are there in
Absolutely.
your
Uh,
startup for 3 years and you leave your startup and you start another startup and you name another company, you register another company. So that doesn't work out. It's very difficult to find a sweet spot that you would like to attack for 10 years. Does
Right.
that make sense?
so
Like,
it does make sense, working on a startup for 10 to 15 years, but you think that's like practically possible? Because after college you're always looking for job, you need to earn money, but if you're working on a startup for 10 to 15 years on just a startup, do you think what if it doesn't go anywhere? You've wasted just 10 to 15 years of your life. Like, there's no
Yeah.
surety after, like, when you work on a startup, right?
Connecting to that, his point, I would also like to put this out. As you said that, working 3 years on a startup and you just declare that it's not working out for you and you leave it. But how would you define, like, what is a failed startup to me? Do I, like, even after
Huh.
3 years, I'm not able to generate some revenue, or my company is not at a level that I would thought it would be? How is that thing, like, do I classify it as a failed startup, or do I still, keep
Like,
working
what
on it?
makes a startup as a failed project? Like, what are the factors which is like, okay, the
I
startup is
think the
gone?
political statement would be that being an entrepreneur, you never fail. Every journey is a learning by itself. You learn even in your failures, but that's a political answer. But the straight jacketed
Hmm.
answer is that if you are not growing as a person over a period of 3 to 5 years, you are bound to fail along with your startup.
Okay, that is
Yeah.
actually a very good advice.
So
Actually.
if you are if you are doing the startup at 21, by 31 you have a 10-year growth in your personal life as well, and
Right.
you are in your startup, so you are growing along with the startup, so you have time, right? But the problem when, like, Jay would start a startup today, he would be very much fickle minded in the next 6 months or 1 year.
Huh.
So what will happen is that he will preferably leave the startup in 2 year or 3 years and change his jobs or get into a different thing.
Right.
But let's say another person is doing a job or a
Right.
startup for 10 years. Preferably, they would have had 5 to 10 years of professional experience in startups or in growth phase companies or in corporates, etc. So they understand the ecosystem better. So they are having a leverage to
Hmm.
start something from a point from where they can actually take it to a bigger game.
Hmm.
But to tell you a truth, right? 99% of the startups fail. And why? Because the founders, they're just not ready for it. They are maybe they are not good enough, maybe they are unskilled, maybe they haven't done the market research, maybe they haven't found a sweet spot or a PMF. There are hundreds of reasons why startup founders fail, but one of the reasons why they definitely fail is that they do not have a long term vision,
Hmm.
like, and sticking to it for 10 years. So
Right.
to answer back to your question, Mitali, if you are not in this game to solve a genuine problem because you really love it, but for other reasons, you're bound to fail.
Hmm.
You cannot be a capitalist chasing money and try to make a buck of the startup bandwagon. You need to
Right.
genuinely love that problem that you want to solve.
True.
Like, for example, I dabbled in few startups, but I was not very sure whether I actually wanted to solve a problem in electric vehicle ecosystem or in SaaS ecosystem whatsoever. So
Right.
until the time I'm like 100% sure that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, it's better to not become a founder and give your entire life to it. And
True.
startup is a full-time game. It's not a
Yes.
part-time game. It's not something that you can do with hundreds of other things going on with your life as well. uh, Typically, if you are in India, there is a lot of societal pressure, peer group pressure as well. You would not be able to. It takes few years to you to be self-aware, to go beyond that, facade of your peer groups
Right.
pressurizing you that you need to do this, to
Yes.
understand what you want to do it.
Right.
So my recommendation is to have 1 or 2 year of clean mind space.
Hmm.
You could get that clean mind space either going for a world tour, going for international experience, or locking yourself in a place outside of your peer group,
Right.
because you cannot be a clear thinker in a very chaotic environment. And for taking decisions in a startup ecosystem, your mind has to be very clear, very clean as well.
Right.
It cannot have a lot of aberrations. And the
Right.
aberrations in a person's mind comes especially because if you are exposed to 100 stimulants
Hmm.
and you do not have control on your own self. So my 2 cents and my request to all the listeners or all the students who want to get into the startup ecosystem right after their engineering, think deep, like
Right.
take a break. uh, if you are under a lot of financial stress, or because you've taken loans, or you want to pursue your MBA, or if you that credentialism layers is such a fake facade, and that comes primarily because of the society that you have come from. If you
Absolutely.
have come from a typical society that respects credentials and degrees, then you are bound to follow those. Like in Three Idiots, or Amir Khan tells, right? Don't follow, chase degree, chase greater things in life.
एग्जैक्टली कि मेहनत करो मेहनत फिर कामयाबी झक मार के पीछे आएगी आई रिमेम्बर दैट आई
Uh,
रिमेम्बर दैट
That's
yeah.
correct. Yes, yes.
सो यू सेइंग
So I was saying, be very patient. Be patient with your journey. When you are 20, 21 graduating, you have absolutely no idea who you are as a person, let alone starting a startup.
Yeah.
It's like startup is like an experiment you do, but then you should have done a lot of deep thinking as to why do you want to do it. For example, let's say Mitali, when you were 12, if you would have loved music and you would have explored the musical canvas for 8 years, by the time you are 20, you can take a jump at 21 to start something in the music space because
Absolutely.
you understand that space very much.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But imagine if you have just listened to a song in your third trimester and then you want to become a musician and then start a music
Uh,
streaming business.
Yeah.
That does not work out. You have not gone deeper into that space.
Yes.
You need to breathe it, live it on a daily basis to actually experience the pains of your customers. And majority of the startup founders currently at 21 to 24 years of age, they're hustling, they're trying to get into accelerators, get a 150 200k us dollar check from Y Combinator. But rather than that path, they should follow their passion, something that really excites at 25 for the next 10 years.
Right.
So from 25 to 35, if they are able to actually follow that path, by the 35 they are on a good trajectory.
Yeah.
Pankaj Parvanda, he is in his 40s. He
Mm-hmm.
just raised his funding.
Yeah.
So you can actually become a founder at 20, at 30, at 40, at 50, at 60 as well. Like you should watch this movie, Founder, by it talks about McDonald's growth. It's a very interesting movie as well. Ray Kroc thought, what could he do in his late 50s and 60s as well? Like he was way beyond his age when he understood the business model and then went all in. So think about a space that you would like to operate in,
Mm.
is my humble request.
Okay. I think that is genuinely good piece of advice, and I feel a lot of our listeners can take a lot from it because for us, I feel finance is something that plays a very big role in this decision, particularly, which is that okay, I just need an extra source of income, maybe, so I should start a startup. Let's see where this goes. Maybe I'll get lucky and maybe it will work out. And then there is this, uh, maybe the societal pressure or whatever that you see people sometimes at the age of 16, sometimes at the age of 20. By that age, they are already a millionaire or a billionaire, and you're like, how is that even possible?
It's
So I feel
possible because they are from a different ecosystem altogether.
ecosystem. Yeah,
The
that makes sense.
experiences, the environment, and the education, the three E's in life, that plays an important part in your life, it
Right,
shapes the person you are.
right.
The education that you are in, you are now studying in Manipal University.
yeah.
You are surrounded by Manipal professors, Manipal students,
Right,
Manipal alumnus, which is
right,
different. The environment that you are in Bangalore, so you have no clue what's happening in Shanghai, you have no clue what's
No,
happening in Taipei, you have absolutely
true.
no clue what's happening in London, in San Francisco, New York. So you are not exposed to a different environment altogether, so your decision making skills is based on the environment that you live in.
hmm,
Now the education, environment, and experiences. Now experiences is a differentiator as well. You may be based out of Bangalore, Mitali, but you are talking to 20 of the amazing alumnus around the world, and you
right,
are actually learning from them. So your personal experiences is very different from, let's say, another colleague. Like,
right,
let's say, another person, your experiences comes from the books that you read, the people that you interact with, the events that you go to, so these three E's in life shape you as a person. And that's why some people have advantage as opposed to you, because they
Uh,
have these three E's very different than you.
it's
They
true.
have a locational advantage, they have an educational advantage, and they have an experiential advantage.
true.
So if you are lacking in any one of it, then you will have to make up in a different manner so that you get up to that level of
The
that
level.
person
Yeah,
and then
Uh,
try to compete.
yeah. That makes
See,
so much
exactly.
sense.
See, as you mentioned, three E's now, roaming around the countries and getting exposure. That makes so much sense now.
Yes, exactly. Like, you fine tune those three E's until you are
Uh,
where you want to be, or you can possibly
exactly.
thrive in that environment. That does
Yeah.
make a lot of sense.
Actually,
So, sir, moving on, you did say that you have your own podcast, SaaS It Up. First of all, I would just like to say I love the name. It is
Achha.
so creative. It is
It's
so amazing.
sassy.
It's to the point. And I would like to ask you that how did that journey begin for you? And I know that you still have the whole setup, and it's something you genuinely enjoy. So is it something that you treated like a venture, or was it more of a hobby?
No, to be honest, it so happened that I was with NASCOM, as I was telling you, and the
Right,
pandemic happened in
right.
2020. At that point in time, I was listening to a lot of podcasts. I used to put up my headphones on,
Yeah.
and the listening, because you are all stuck in your apartments, the world was locked in, and you cannot go outside. So you spent a lot of time by yourself in closed spaces. So you listen to a lot. And of course, that was a year when there was a spike in podcasting as well. So 2020, when I thought I listened to a lot of podcasts, and I realized that, hey, I want to start a podcast to talk to these intelligent people as well.
Hmm.
Like every guest that you speak with, you
Right.
learn something as well.
True.
you know so it's an educational journey for you in a manner to actually learn a new skill. So I realized, okay, if I can actually start SaaS podcast or a blockchain podcast, I can invite people to my podcast and have a 1 hour of knowledge driven
Mm,
discussion with them. So
true.
that was my intent to start a podcast. But of course, once the podcast started, you get a lot of opportunities as well, because I had a consulting background, so a lot of other consultants actually looked into it, and opportunities usually come to you rather than you chasing opportunities. Like
Okay.
at the start of the conversation, Jay was mentioning that how can I get into this particular group.
Right.
Now, if this podcast is very successful, then people will come to him and tell him that, hey, Jay, can I come onto your podcast?
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
Right.
It's
So
same.
you will
If
have
I
the
provide value to them, they'll come to me. I don't need to chase them. If I provide value.
yes. So always, like in Three Idiots, our Mr. Amir Khan says, chase excellence.
Chase
True.
You
excellence.
need to
Yep.
produce the high quality podcast. You need to produce a quality. The quality of your podcast has to be that clear, that the conversation has to be so impactful, so interesting, less obstructing, so that you will enjoy to hear it, the podcast. So before
Uh,
starting a podcast, you should listen to hundreds of podcasts as well. You need to understand how the conversation happens,
Hmm.
how people listen to each other, how people talk to each other, how people reciprocate to each other, how people jest with each other, how people reference to each other, how people, you need to understand the nuances of podcasting before starting the podcast as well, before starting the first episode. So take my episode as an experiment to improvise on top of it
Absolutely.
of course.
for your next episodes as well. So when I started my podcast, that the intent was to learn, to get exposure to a high caliber or highly curated set of investors or entrepreneurs and learn from them. Eventually, when I graduated from one podcast to the other podcast, my intent was around how do I scale this podcast to a much more bigger level. On SaaS It Up, I produced roughly 36 podcast episodes. On the blockchain Web3 podcast, I produced another 4 episodes. And then I realized that I need to have different business models around the podcast as well. It
Okay.
cannot be just streaming models that you have on Apple Podcasts or Spotify's.
Right.
You need to have alternative business models around it as well. Do you use podcast for consulting? Do
Hmm.
you use podcast for venture investments? If you want to invest into startups, you can
Yeah.
actually have podcast and invite a lot of startup founders and have conversations with them, and eventually have a lead pipeline, or a deal pipeline.
Right.
So if you are doing any other, like for professors, a lot of people in academia in the future will be starting their own podcast. They will be all trying to have their own thought leadership distribution channels, because imagine the future case study model. I mean, eventually you will graduate from your engineering college, you will get into you'll work for a few years, you'll get into your master's degree. Many of you will actually get into your management degrees, and in management degrees they will talk about case studies, which is a
Hmm.
typical Harvard business case study model. But the future of case studies will also include audio, video channels. And if you look into London School of Economics podcast,
Mm.
is very highly curated and very well made.
True.
So people will be using it for educational purposes as well.
Yeah.
People will be using for marketing, for sales. So it's a beautiful medium, and I genuinely believe that audio has some way of connecting with people.
It's
If I
true.
send a mailer to you or send you a blog post, you would read it, but you'll not connect with the other person. But if I tell you the same things with my own voice, although now these days it can be AI generated as well, but the authenticity comes off,
But it's like it's the tone that matters actually, not the words.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the tones and everything can also be replicated through AI LLM models, but the authenticity, AI cannot generate the life experiences that I'm bringing to the table.
Right.
True.
Because AI just knows that it has access to all the content or the digital library on the internet. So
Right.
the your life experiences really comes off. Yes.
Okay.
Also, sir, you know always you're like the host in the podcast. Today you were the guest. How did it feel to be the guest in a podcast?
No, I just wanted to speak with the younger students. To be honest, when you are growing up, like after few years and decades graduating from your college, you will realize how can you contribute back to your students, back to your alumni in some capacity.
Right.
So then you think that okay, maybe I should talk to the younger generation of the students. Like I used to host a lot of Manipal juniors at my place as well in Bangalore,
Okay.
and I used to invite them to actually understand their worldview. Like I wanted to understand how someone who is 10 years younger to me
How do they
thinking
think?
around the world.
Yeah.
You know,
True.
so now I'm talking to you. So I wanted to know how people who are 20 years younger to me are thinking around the world,
Yes.
how patient they are, how restless they are. There is a saying that the attention span of the younger students are actually going down
Down.
Right.
every
Yes,
year.
It
it
is.
You
is.
know, which
It is.
means your generation cannot have these 5 year, 10-year jobs anymore.
Mm.
Three months, 6 months, 12 months gigs. So the concept of retirement, the concept of PF, provident fund, the
Yeah.
concept of gratuity is not there in your
It's not
generation.
there. It is.
So I'm going one step deeper, because if I want to raise a child in a different geography, in a different generation altogether, I need to think how their generation will be. So that's why one of my colleagues over here at EGADE Business School, she gave me a very interesting advice. Like I also seek advices from peers and colleagues who have more experience than me. And she told me that Sashwat, every time in phase of your life, you should talk to few people who are 5, 10 years older to you,
Right.
you know, maybe 15, 20 years older to you in age and in experience, and also 5, 10 years younger to you, and 10, 15 years or 20 years younger to you as well. That gives you a spread of life experiences and as to how the world is evolving as well.
True.
Now I know that okay, if typical students of Manipal and second year students, this is how they are looking like. So
Right.
tomorrow, if I want to hire them, if I want to actually give them opportunities, I have a better holistic knowledge of that ecosystem as well.
Mm,
You know,
that
a
makes so
lot
much
of
sense.
uh, a lot of millennial managers have problems engaging with Gen Zs and Gen Alphas because they don't know how to work with them.
True.
You know,
Yeah.
because you are exposed to a lot of stimulus that we weren't exposed to. You know, and we were complaining when we were in our engineering college from 2003 to 7 that hey, our seniors don't know these things. But then I understand that technology is evolving at that pace, that if you are not at the cutting frontier tech, you will just keep on missing out on things as well.
Absolutely.
True.
Absolutely.
Okay, so coming to the last question, you being like the expert in podcast, Do you think we did a good job, sir? Considering it's our first ever podcast, do you think we did a good job?
Anytime a student or a friend or a colleague asks me this question, I ask them before answering. I ask a question back to them. Do you want the red pill or the blue pill?
We'll take the red pill, sir. Of course.
Okay. I think personally, I enjoyed the conversation. I like that you had the mics set up.
Yeah.
A lot of podcasters do not have mics as well, so I'm very happy that you have the mics in place. You have the headphones on. Good on you, Jay. I think
Thank you, sir.
your apparatus and everything you have set up. Some improvements, like some areas of improvement that you can do, like
Yes,
as
sir.
all professors tend to advise, is I think Mitali did a good job. I mean, she was more receptive and on the listening side of it. I think, Jay, you can improvise on this thing. You do not
Okay.
have the listening skills, and that will help you to go further in your professional career. You
Absolutely.
know,
Yes, sir.
um, what is listening skills, and how is it different from hearing? Listening is being patient as to what the other person is saying, and developing this patient, the quality of patience, and being very silent while the other person is saying, and not cutting the other person off.
Right.
Yeah.
But because you are very new to the ecosystem, you don't know how to. You need to improve on your conversation skills.
Okay.
Uh,
I'll do, sir. I'll definitely do, sir.
yeah, possibly you should do that. And podcasting is a conversation skill.
Mm.
You can never become a good podcaster if you do not have listening skills.
That makes sense, sir. Thank you so much for the advice. I'll definitely
Yes.
take it.
So I think that is it for today. We had a very insightful conversation with you. I absolutely loved it because, as is our intention over here, we call it mic'd up entrepreneurship unfiltered. Like, we want
Uh-huh.
real conversations happening here. We
No, I
want
thank you so much for the invitation. And to be honest, I love what you guys are doing. I think
right.
back in the day when I was in my second year of engineering, I would have never thought of doing this thing. And to my surprise, when I was in my second year of engineering, I had not even interacted with anyone, any of my alumnus, which is very surprising. So I
Right.
really appreciate the fact that although you are second year students, you are going out and reaching out to your alumnus and trying to have a conversation with them. And to be honest, you guys are in one of the best cities in India, Bangalore.
Absolutely.
Uh, the tech exposure that you have is one of the highest quality, you know. So if you are really learning from the right set of people, or you have access to the right set of networks, then possibly you will go way beyond that we could actually think about. I mean, like when I was graduating in my fourth year, we were just thinking about jobs or going
Right.
for a master's degree. But now you guys are looking into entrepreneurship and other areas, which is so nice, and I'm so proud of you guys.
Thank you, sir. That means a lot. And honestly, one thing that we have discovered from talking to, insightful alumni like you is there, the sense of world that we have right now, the sense of maybe the job market, what we are going to do after the 4 years here is very shallow. It is very
Yeah.
constricted, and a lot of it comes from the fact that, yeah, we are staying in India. We have a lot of societal insights. We have a lot of pressure. We have like right out of school, 11, 12 standard, we participate in all these competitive exams. It's always
Hmm.
about getting into the best school, and then you think, oh, if I get into this best school, then I'll probably have a good salary, my life is set. But that is all not always true. It comes down to how you improve as a person, and how you are what kind of things you are exposing yourself to, the 3 E's. That's something I'll keep with myself after this podcast for sure. But yes, again, thank you so much for being here with us.
Absolutely, it's an honor. And if I could recommend you to talk to a few of the other Manipal alumnus that I'm connected with, a
Yeah.
lot of juniors of mine, you know, I think definitely talk to Somya Saxena. He's based out of Bangalore. He's very active in the blockchain space. I think he's a 2013 or 14 alumnus. Definitely speak with Avnir. He's a bartender. I mean, he does a lot of thing on
Avneet
the.
Bhadolia, we
Yeah,
did
yeah,
speak
yeah.
I
to
have a conversation with him.
Yeah. So tell him. I mean, are you recording this part or no?
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah, yeah. So tell him that Sashwat recommended his name as well. So maybe get him onto a podcast,
Of course, definitely.
and definitely speak with Nitish. He has a very musical and DJ background. And of course, if you want to speak to international, I mean, majority of our Manipal alumnus are based outside of India.
True.
You will realize that as you grow
Yeah,
abroad, grow
I
out.
did.
And if you want to speak someone from North America, I have a lot of my friends. I can let you know about Akshay. He's in SAP in Chicago. Anand, he's in Atlanta. Deloitte, Boston Consulting Group. Varun, he's in Chicago as well. So you name the company, we have an alumni over there, and preferably I might know a lot of them, so I can connect you up to them as well.
That is incredible. So, again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Jay, for accompanying
Thank you,
me.
Jay.
Thank you so
Uh,
much, sir, for being here.
and thank you to all our listeners. We really hope that this one discussion can open up a lot of things for you. And I guess that's it from us. Have a nice
Thank you
day.
so much for coming, sir. And still, we still have an invitation pending for you to Manipal. We'd like to host an
Absolutely.
in-person
Thank you so
podcast.
much, Jay.
This time, this time we couldn't be here. We have vacation. We're going back. But next time, whenever you're here,
I'll
please let us know.
definitely come. Yeah, yeah,
Thank you,
absolutely.
sir.
And if anyone from Manipal is coming for the World Cup next year in June, July, happy to host in this part of the world.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it will be fun. Okay. Take care,
Thank you
Okay.
guys.
so much, sir.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, bye, sir.
Thank you for tuning into Mind Up, where founders share the real stories behind building their dreams. Stay tuned for more such conversations on inspiring journeys and bold ideas that shape the world around us.
We'll be back with more founders, more lessons, and more inspiration exploring what it truly means to dream, build, and believe. Until then, keep building, keep believing, and keep creating your stories.